Hello YouTube. It is currently May 9th, 2023. We are mid-season 4 of Overwatch 2, and there's a big mid-season patch today with big Junker Queen buffs, a lot of quality of life changes. There's actually a breakdown on the main channel where I kind of just showcase the change. This one's going to be more of me just reading the patch notes to you and giving more of my thoughts on it. So if you want to just see the changes, check it out on the main channel. This KarQ archive channel is more me on Twitch. Twitch chat is here. You get the experience of some emotes, right? Like that moving fish right there, Joel's. It's a whole different experience if you watch this one. This one's more of a play it in the car, listen to it while you go run, if you run and exercise, but let's be real, you guys are Overwatch players. Beginning with today's first event update, Star Watch Galactic Rescue. This is a 4v4 mode. Battle for the Fate of the Galaxy is this new 4-point assault mode. Side with the Watchers Rebellions alongside the Mighty Bone Breaker to rescue 3 CHO, that's Echo, from the Infinite Galactria starship, or serve the Infinite Empire and use the starship security systems to defend against the intruders. Your choice will decide the fate. Complete the challenge, unlock limited time cosmetics, Asteroid Wrecking Ball epic skin, 50,000 Battle Pass XP. TLDR, 4v4 mode where you can either choose one side, the Watcher Rebels, or you can serve the Infinite Empire. It's just an arcade game on the old map called Horizon Lunar Colony, a retired Overwatch 1 map. Very, very old map for all the new players. You've never played this map, and honestly, it's good. Good that you didn't. It was a terrible map. Some people will swear by it, but I would say the majority hated that map, myself included. I'm glad they repurposed it. Battle for Olympus is also returning, which was an event in Season 2 to celebrate Zeus's Junker Queen's victory from Season 2's Battle for Olympus event. We're bringing back the game mode for a limited time, including a new team deathmatch version to further commemorate the victors of Season 2. A statue of the god herself has been erected. Ping system. The group up command can now be used while dead. That's pretty cool. Added a new settings to control communication ping options, enable contextual comms wheel. So this is a new setting they added. When you enable it, it'll change group up and the need healing to use alternate comms when aiming at allies. The setting is off by default. So this gives you a bit more control of how you want your ping experience to be. Because some people hated forcing themselves, like whenever you pressed the group up button, it would like give the wrong contextual command. You can now change that. And Junker Queen can now ping targets through surfaces that her knife is stuck on, same way that Zen can ping his targets that Discord's attached to. A nice quality of life change to the ping system. Push mode update. The respawn time for players is increased by 2 seconds from 10 seconds to 12 seconds while their team's forward spawn location is activated. So this is good for teams that are getting snowballed really hard. Have you ever been losing on push and the enemy team is pushing your shit in and you're in the final, you're stuck in your spawn? Now if you kill the attackers that are really close to finishing the game, they have a 12-second respawn instead of 10 seconds, so they have a longer time. Their deaths are heavily punished to at least give you a chance to mount a comeback, because some people feel like push is very one-sided in a lot of times, so this is a nice change. Matchmaking. The MMR decay system has received multiple improvements aimed at more quickly and accurately recalibrating players when they return from a long period of inactivity. I'm gonna be honest, matchmaking has been fine for me lately. The easiest thing to do is to just not tilt yourself and just don't look at people's profiles. It's just gonna tilt you if you're in whatever rank. If you're in Masters and you get like a gold player, you're just gonna tilt. Just don't look anymore. I'm telling you, life is better when you live in blissful ignorance. But anyways, MMR decay system is gonna be a little bit better to recalibrate players who are returning players. That's basically the takeaway point. Competitive updates. Competitive deathmatch now begins on May 16th. Woohoo! Cool. Let's talk about the actual balance change and my thoughts on it. So, Junker Queen getting Giga buffed. Scattergun, which is her main weapon, ammo increased from 6 to 8. That's pretty good. This is a huge buff, by the way. This one's massive. Projectile size of the jagged blade, the knife, increased from 0.15 to 0.2 meters. This just means it's easier to land. Consistency and ease to land is gonna make a big difference. This is probably one of the bigger underrated buffs. Gives you more damage uptime, so you don't have to reload. This one is huge for consistency. Rampage, which is her ultimate, now deals 40 damage on impact, but they take away some of the wound damage from 100 to 60. So they just took some power away from the damage over time and gave it to the initial impact, which I would argue is actually a little bit better because it did no impact damage. It just did 100 over time. If you ult someone with Junker Queen and they cleanse it right away with Suzu, or they Zarya bubble, or they Moira Fade to get rid of it and get rid of the wound, you don't get to do the extra bleed damage and you don't get to heal over time. But doing this on impact is an insta heal at 40. So this is a buff, a net buff. Even though it looks like it's just moving power away, this is a net buff. And the biggest buff is Adrenaline Rush. Adrenaline passive healing multiplier increased from 1.25 to 2 times damage dealt by wounds. So you're now healing 2x your damage. From wounds though, the wounds are a separate counter from the raw damage. Like a Carnage Axe Swing is like whatever the flat damage is and like a 30 damage wound or something over time. Not sure what the actual wound damage is, but all in all, you're certainly healing a lot more, which makes me think maybe you need an Ana to shut down a really good Junker Queen if you're not mirroring. But this reminds me of the Junker Queen meta before Overwatch 2 came out for the public. The Overwatch League ran Lucio, Brig, Junker Queen, and then mixed DPS. It's probably back. Lucio, Brig, Junker Queen's probably really good. We called it JOTS, short for a play on words for an old Overwatch 1 composition called GOATS, which was like a rush 3 triple tank triples support rush comp back in Overwatch 1, but JOTS might be returning. If you don't have a good Junker Queen player and you don't want to mirror, I'm pretty sure you might be able to play Ana and counter them, because if they run Lucio Brig, Ana can counter the shit out of the Junker Queen if you anti her. However, that means the teams will also adjust, and instead of playing Lucio Brig, they might play Lucio Kiriko, which is also serviceable as well. There's a lot of flexible options, but your main core is probably Junker Queen Lucio to engage, disengage, and your other 3 supports, your other supports are a mix of Kiriko, Ana, arguably Baptiste as well, and Brig, and then your DPS can also flex as well. Probably Tracer is good, or you can run full rush down, May Reaper. I don't know, you can pick and choose, but all in all, Junker Queen is really, really, really strong based on what I'm reading here. Maybe it's an overreaction, just like how people overreacted to the initial Brig changes, but I'm gonna say this looks pretty good, because Queen is already pretty solid against dive, solid against Winston, solid against Ball. You farm a lot of DPS. This is looking scary. Orisa, minor buff damage from a fusion driver up from 12 to 13. Orisa's like one of the lowest win rate tanks now, believe it or not. She was kind of meta in season 2 and 3. This is a decent buff to her overall DPS, but she's a resource heavy support. So if you don't have the correct support lineup with Orisa, you can't really play her. But her tankiness is still pretty decent. Winston, small change to jetpack damage radius before fall off begins, increase from 1 to 1.3 meters. Basically what this means is when Winston jumps in, you actually do landing damage, right? At maximum, I think it's 50 damage on your land. And if you're really far away, it'll do 1 damage, 1 to 50. When you're 1 meter away from them and you landed, the damage would start tapering off from 50, going all the way down to 1. So now the damage before it starts tapering off is increased to 1.3 meters. Therefore, it's just consistency. You don't have to land, you don't literally have to stick your monkey nuts in their face to do the full 50 damage. You can land a little further away and you should be okay to deal the full, like at least a higher proportion of damage. This is a small Winston buff. Okay, Wrecking Ball, small nerf here, where it's the duration of the adaptive shield down from 9 to 7 seconds. That's not gonna make or break Ball. It just lasts really long while you're fighting over time, but a lot of balls will like run their entire HP bar and then they'll either roll away or roll to re-engage. This is a small nerf, but I don't think it kills Ball. Ball's mines last too long. Decrease that duration, please. That shit is so annoying. But right now, Sombra's meta, so you don't see as many balls as you previously did, but it doesn't mean Ball's weak by any means. Echo duplicate, the ultimate cost was reduced by 25%, but the generation while you're in the duped form is decreased from 5.5 to 4x. So like you can't get your ultimate twice. Like some tracers are able to get 2 pulse bombs, but for the most part, most people were only able to get 1 ultimate anyways and use it. So I think this is a buff, this is a nerf, but I would say this is a net buff to Echo. A higher uptime means you can just use your duplicate more often. Usually just duping anybody is a team fight win because you basically get an extra life as Echo. You run your entire DPS rotation with stickies, beam, and then you switch to duplicate them, have a chance to get your ult, you can switch out. I still think this is a net buff because a higher uptime on duplicate means like almost every fight, if you're a good Echo with a strong pocket, you could be able to farm it a lot more frequently. So, and 4x is still really fast, by the way, to generate your ultimate. So I think this is pretty good for Echo. Okay, Junkrat, a small change where the maximum damage of the mine is increased from 100 to 110. So this was actually a medium, like halfway rebuff. Junkrat used to be 120 damage on the mine. It got nerfed to 100 in the last season 3 or season 3 patch. They're putting it back to 110, so it's like halfway in between what it used to be and what it was. I wouldn't even say he was like weak in high elos, but he was inconsistent because flank rat is a very popular style at the higher levels, and having your primary fire 120 damage, sometimes if you threw the mine right after and it wasn't close enough, it has fall off damage from the explosion of the mine. So basically they would not be able to do the one shot if they like messed up the mine as consistently because the damage was nerfed. So they would have to shoot a second mine or they have to land a second primary fire. So that kind of kill the consistency. So right now they're kind of rebuffing it. I think for most other ranks, they didn't even notice Junkrat was nerfed. Junkrat probably still dominates because there's a different playstyle that's already really good for the medium ranks where like it's just spamming in a choke and they die anyway. So people are probably confused at why they're buffing Junk. But I will say, I don't really see that much Junk right now in high elos, except Junkrat mains. Like he wasn't a hero people just swap to. People right now are swapping to either a hit scan or they'll play like, you know, Hanzo or Tracer or Echo, depending on matchups. There's not somebody who just picks Junkrat just to pick him because he's good. They pick him because they're just rat mains. Okay, for supports, I'm a support main. I might have a bit to say here. Explosion damage on the healing biotic grenade 100 to 60. That's pretty significant because that'll affect the healing rotation. When a tank is really low, what ends up happening is I'll shoot a heal shot, follow-up cancel nade into a follow-up shot, and this hurts the that initial burst of healing that you can do if you hit all three: shot, heat, nade, shot. Not gonna change her. I still think Ana's really good right now, so she's still gonna be played. This is just a little annoying. They kind of nerfed like a weird section. I didn't even think it was like that annoying to play against this part of her kit. Probably the anti. The devs say Ana's survivability has improved significantly ever since the addition of the support passive. We're reducing the amount of healing provided by a bio nade explosion, as she doesn't rely on it to self-heal as much as before. Partially true. When they say as before, they're probably comparing to Overwatch 1. The self-heal is actually going to hurt quite a bit. So the combo to heal a tank really quickly is going to be bad. But the self-heal, this is tough for survivability. But it's also punishing using it on allies. Oh, exactly what you just said. Yeah, it punishes using it on the allies, but their reasoning was to stop the self-heal. So I guess one suggestion would be you can nerf the self-heal, but like keep the 100 healing on allies. But at the end of the day, Ana is arguably pretty strong right now, but she's such a fun, high skill hero that I don't know. I feel like not too many people are going to complain about it too much. Well, they're going to complain about it like, why did you nerf this? But Ana's arguably pretty strong, so I'm going to keep it there. This one's not as crazy. It's just a little bit of healing. This one might like stir more controversy, where the immortality field cooldown is actually going down from 25 to 23. That's a buff. Their comments are, it's powerful utility. Long cooldown means that BAP has to wait for the perfect opportunity to use it. We're decreasing its cooldown to promote more flexibility in the usage, though it'll still be uncommon to see it more than once per engagement. True, you generally don't get, the team fight's not long enough that you get to use it more than once per engagement, but like, listen, I'm a BAP main. I don't think he needed this. I think he's already really good the way he is. Kiriko, the kunai reloads after 65% of the animation is complete, formerly 75%. This is lovely. Everybody who plays Kiriko knows when you're trying to do that, when you're trying to reload your kunais and then you accidentally start healing or you swift step, you didn't actually end up finishing the reload animation, then you gotta reload again. This new hero option, healing Ofuto cancels reload. They say there's a hero option which can be turned off to bypass this issue. Turn this option off. I think this is so nice. Basically what this does is it'll force you to finish your entire kunais before you're able to interrupt it with anything else. Lifeweaver. No buffs, by the way. This is just a really small buff. Reinhardt no longer a valid target for life grip during Earth Shatter. Using the Shatter will stop and cancel the life grip. They didn't have time to like actually modify Lifeweaver any more than they already did in the early season. So I don't think they had time because they actually made a developer blog last week where they're saying they're aiming to add brand new settings to brand new stuff to Lifeweaver more in season 5. So it's a bit of a timeline issue. I'm sure this patch was already cooked up like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, right? So no time to do more adjustments, but you can let Lifeweaver marinate a bit more to really see where they're targeting. But they mentioned in the article last week that they're looking at potentially adding a new passive and doing more things to accentuate his defensive playmaking capabilities rather than just changing raw numbers. So, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I think I've messed up like 3 of my teammates' shatters since Lifeweaver's come out. So, I mean, this is a small, nice change, I guess, but it's not enough to make him viable by any means. Pretty cool, pretty interesting patch. The biggest question mark for me is why Junker Queen needed that, and same with Baptiste. Now we have hero option updates. These are mostly quality of life changes. Some of these are new options in the hero settings. Some people don't even know heroes have individual hero settings. You go to options, you go to controls, you hit the change hero tab. It's on the right side of my screen. I just realized you can't see it. Boom. Actually, my camera's covering it. Okay, see my mouse right below me? There's a change hero button. Each hero has new settings. So a lot of these are just text changes. You don't need to do most of these. If anything, these would actually just keep them the way they are. So for example, the Diva patch said, hide boosters, cancel text, hide boosters timer. I don't even think they're that distracting, but if you really want to curate your perspective and your screen of clutter and you're like super into that, I mean, sure. But right now I have it on, which means I'm hiding it. So if I press booster jet, I'm going by feeling. How do I know my boosters ended? I don't know. There's no UI in the center because I hit it. I can go back here. I can hide booster timer, turn it off. I mean, I can hide the booster cancel text, but basically that's just right in the center. Do you see the 2 seconds, the little spinny circle? And then there's a cancel L shift in the center. That's basically what all this does. If you want to turn those off, you don't have to touch those, to be honest with you. Does anybody really find that distracting in the center of your screen? Probably not. You already got used to it for over 7 years, but it's there for those who want to curate their gaming experience. Okay, so Doomfist has a bunch of the UI stuff. So hand cannon UI, don't need that. This one, hold to use power block, is actually a genuine change but right now it's toggle. So if you press power block, it'll hold it the whole time. You have to press it again to cancel it. Right now it's a hold to use. This is just text. This is the punch meter text. This is the cancel text. Don't need to touch that. This one's the only one I'll point out that if you like hold to use, go ahead. Orisa, Terra Surge can now be activated by pressing the Alt button again. Yeah, previously when you press your ultimate, you had to use primary fire or secondary fire to activate or cancel it. You could just press it again to activate it. Nice quality of life change. Timer, text, don't worry about that. This middle one, hold to use javelin spin. This is a hold versus toggle thing again. So this one's the only one I'm gonna highlight, the center one. Ramatra quality of life change. The block now respects holding the input while being stunned, and you added new options. Okay, so this line of text, when you hold block as Ramatra and you get Sigma rocked and you keep holding, you get kicked out of your block. You have to press the input of block again. If I just want to AFK and hold block, I can sit through all the CC and like, I don't have to re-input anything. So that's small change, that's cool. Toggle block off, you can turn that on if you want. That's the one I'm gonna highlight. This is just text, don't worry. Relative sensitivity while you're punching in Nemesis form, because some people like to punch with a faster sense and aim with their staff with a different one. Gyro for Switch players. Annihilation cancel input ability 1 by default. I mentioned this in the other video, but I'll say it here. Annihilation is your ultimate. Cancel input ability 1. This is ability 1 by default. Ability 1 is your Nemesis form button. So basically, you know when you pop Annihilation, you get like a fresh set of armor and HP while you're in Nemesis form. So basically, if you get really low while Annihilation, you can just press your Nemesis ability 1 and it'll put you into Nemesis without Annihilation, and you actually get a refreshed set of armor. You can actually change this to like ability 3. Yeah, ability 3. Ability 3 is your ultimate, Q or Y on the controller. If you want to cancel your ultimate, you have to press the button again, so your Q or your Y, and then go to Nemesis form if you want to transform there to get another set of armor. So all the other buttons are disabled while you're in your ultimate, except your Q to cancel it, and then go Nemesis. So I would actually keep this on ability 1 by default, so I can just switch to Nemesis as needed. Rhine, relative aim sense with during barrier field. Yeah, some people like a faster sensitivity while they're holding the shield up. Gyro sense hold to use charge is now a thing. So previously it's always been a toggle. This is just text. Whole hog timer text, whatever. Gravitic flux now automatically casts when the timer runs out. This one, so I don't know. Most people usually click something as Sigma before the timer runs out, but in case you don't click something and you don't pick a target, it'll just go wherever your crosshair is. Winston, toggle secondary fire off by default. You have to hold to charge the secondary zap cannon. Now you can choose to toggle it if you want. Cool. Wrecking Ball, pressing quick melee button now cancels the roll. And then there's a new setting where if you toggle quick melee during roll. So right now, if you melee as the ball at any time, it'll kick you out of ball form. I don't think this is too bad. I think people can go either way with this option. Bastion, same thing with Sigma, where the artillery, that's his ultimate, will now automatically cast when the timer runs out. If you haven't made a choice and you're an indecisive person, you can't figure out what to eat for dinner, yeah, that's probably you. Where you want to eat, they'll do it for you. It'll just pick the spot where if you don't choose anything. Relative aim sensitivity during reconfigure. So your sentry form, when you switch forms, you can change your sensitivity now. Cool. Deadeye is just text timer. Do not turn this off. Some people can't time their high noons where they wait too long. It's actually good to see how much time you have left on the little dial in the center. Just don't touch this one. Echo. You can use hold to use focusing beam if you want. Sure. This is text. Leave that. Genji. Hold to use deflect, so this is new. It used to be toggle, now you have the option to hold. Hide deflect text, don't touch that. May can now be canceled, or cryo freeze can now be canceled by pressing the ability again. Added the hero specific section, specific options. Hold to use cryo freeze, that's whatever. I think it's fine to just keep it the way it was by default, off. Text, timer. This one's interesting. Default wall rotation is horizontal by default. So you can swap the orientation, the default orientation. I don't see most people doing this, but if you're really into that, I mean, sure. Because right now, if I press ice wall, it's always been like this, right? And if you want to rotate it, you press the button again. But every time I pop it, it's always horizontal. I can choose vertical. And now every time I start it, it'll start like this. I want to quick wall this. Oh, people are coming through the choke. Let me just wall up. Oh, wait a minute. It's vertical. Maybe some use cases, if you're not really like a main, like you're hiding around a corner like this and people are crossing the choke and you're hiding here, you could just, you know, do this and, oh, quick wall. But I mean, if you're going to sit and plant yourself there, you might as well just manually reorient it. But if, you know. Farah one is kind of interesting. Toggle hover jets. It's off by default. I would say just keep it off. If you turn this on and you press your hover jet to float, it'll just manually consume your ammo like crazy till you decide to click it again. I'm telling you, try this in game and I guarantee it's gonna feel so weird. You're just gonna want it off. Like, don't bother. Okay, Reaper. Hold to use Wraith form if you want to hold versus toggle. That's new. Hide Wraith form text. Okay, don't worry about that. Shadow step confirmation is just a different button to confirm it. It's just primary fire. You can change the confirmation button if you want. That's whatever. Toggle hack is off by default. This one's new. So when you start your hack, it'll always try to complete it so you don't manually undo it. This one's arguable. I would say this is okay, but it's not that hard to just hold the button down and try to aim and finish the hack. This one is 50-50 for me. Depends on the player. Toggle secondary fire. It depends if you want to do this. Hold to deploy sentry turret. Teleporter and photon confirmation. This is primary fire by default. I wouldn't change that. Also, they forgot a space there. Default barrier rotation. So similar to the May, you can change the orientation of your wall if you want to. And you can also hide the timer. This one I probably wouldn't change, and this one don't touch. Okay, Torbjorn overload timer off by default. Don't touch this because you want to know how much longer your overload lasts. The blink UI by Tracer, I would keep this so you can see on the center of your screen your how many blinks you have left. Don't touch that. Baptiste, default amp matrix. Also same thing. You can change the orientation horizontal or vertical. Do not change this. Keep it horizontal. It is so much easier to just do a horizontal wall and shoot through it and DPS an enemy down. Confirmation input, this one's fine. You can change this if you prefer, all good. Automatic reload setting now reloads when both primary and secondary fire are out of ammo if the setting is set to off. So as it stands, the automatic reload will only reload if either your healing containers or your damage container is empty. Now, even while you have it off, if both are empty, it will auto reload. But this is a setting I personally just have on. So yeah, Kiriko I mentioned a little bit earlier with the healing of Fudo cancels reload. Turn this off. This one turn off, turn off, turn off. Lifeweaver, they added relative thorn sensitivity, aim while in thorn volley. Tree of life confirmation input, I'm changing this. This was a nice change because as it stands, my right click is the activate tree of life because I rebound my primary and secondary fire. So this is a great change for me personally. Allow backwards wall ride option is now on by default. This is off by default. This won't affect any seasoned Lucio players, but if anybody's new to Lucio, thank God, because I don't know why you would limit the character's capabilities by not allowing you to have backwards wall ride on by default. So now it's on by default for the newer players. Won't affect most of you guys. And hold to crossfade options are now changed, so you can actually have a manual like only hold for heal or only hold for speed, or have it off completely or on. I actually don't have hold for crossfade. I have a toggle personally, but you do you. Mercy has 3 new options. This is mostly for Battle Mercy, where the Caduceus Blaster, that's her pistol. The input is primary fire by default, but you can actually change that. You can change the relative aim sensitivity for your pistol, and this is gyro for Nintendo Switch. And finally, Zenyatta, we have a Harmony and Discord Orb cancel reload on by default. So while you're mid reload during your clap, if you throw out a Harmony Orb, it'll stop your reload. If you throw out a Discord and you're trying to reload your orbs, it'll stop it. You can turn that off where you will finish your entire reload before throwing an orb, but I would argue that it's important. Like, if you're mid reload and your Tracer is 1 HP and getting shot and you want to throw a Harmony really fast on them, that's higher priority than reloading your stuff because it's a kind of a long animation. For Kiriko, I said turn it off because this affects you more, but honestly, this reload animation is so fast that I think it's better to not accidentally have to reload twice. This one, I would actually keep it on by default. Let it cancel your reload. Throwing a Discord when it matters and throwing on a Harmony when it matters is of higher importance. Transcendence timer, leave that on so you at least know the time. There's a bunch of bug fixes there. I've actually read this patch again. I could cover this on the main channel. There's nothing here that's like super significant. Some people said the Esperanza indestructible vase thing, but the actual game impacting changes with game implications is Brig, where they fixed a bug where the extra armor during rally did not apply the 30% damage reduction correctly. So basically, Brig's ultimate was weaker than it was actually supposed to be, even though they added a stun. The armor reduction wasn't actually happening. Now it is, so this is actually a Brig buff to what you were used to relative to the early Season 4 patch for the first 4 weeks. Everything else is pretty small stuff. They didn't fix the bug where Kiriko Swift Step will not even get players stuck in the map. You cannot teleport with Swift Step on a tank that's crouching or a big hero hitbox like Bastion. If D.Va's flying, D.Va can't crouch normally. You cannot Swift Step to her. That is a major bug they need to fix. It is not fixed this patch. So, Blizzard, please, what do you guys think? They can listen to my breakdown. See you all later.